For those that don't know me, I'm James. I'm the Director of Facilities and Maintenance here at the Hearthstone. And joining me today is Linda Peterson. She's a resident over at Cove East. So we're going to be taking you through some earthquake preparedness, what to do before, during, and after earthquake. But we don't want to start off with a reminder. About 20 years ago, we had the Nisqually earthquake. For those that were here, you probably remember a little bit of shaking that went on. Out of that, about 10 years ago, they created what's called the Great Shakeout. It's in 34 countries. Currently on their website, they have over 6 million people registered to participate. For Washington, we call it the Great Washington Shakeout. So we have some videos that we'll be sharing. The first one is going to be kind of reminder what it looked like after the Nisqually earthquake, and then we have some videos of what to do during an earthquake. So we'll get started with that.
And just a reminder, as he's getting that ready, this was a 6.8 earthquake, which is a pretty good earthquake. However, this area can get earthquakes 7, 8, and 9. So when you look at this damage, this is from a 6.8, not a 7 or an 8 or 9, and it's logarithmic how it goes up. I mean, it's not just 2 points up for a 7, it's the magnitude is much bigger. Not to scare you to death, but.
What year was that?
2001.
2001, okay.
So that was a big year. Yeah, Sherry's was 2 years.
Yeah, masonry buildings, you don't want to be outside around them after an earthquake, and they fall for a while.
All right.
Okay, so you have a handout on the 7 steps to take in preparing an earthquake, and there's a FEMA handout that is the minimum you should have in a home earthquake kit, and we'll talk about that at the end. And so during an earthquake, you want to duck, cover, and hold on, and protect your neck and head. So the next video is going to show you that, and then I'll add a few little things after the video.
Great Shakeout earthquake drills remind you to drop, cover, and hold on to protect yourself during an earthquake in most situations. Let's practice what to do if a sturdy desk or table is nearby. When you feel shaking, immediately drop down onto your hands and knees. an earthquake is less likely to knock you over in this position, and you're a smaller target for anything falling or flying. Then, cover your head with your arms. Clasp your hands around your neck. Bend over to protect your vital organs. If you can move safely and a sturdy desk or table is nearby, keep one arm over your head as you crawl to additional shelter. Finally, hold on by gripping a table leg or other part of your shelter. Continue protecting your head and neck with your other arm. Remain on your knees and bent over, ready to move with your shelter when it shifts during the shaking. Close your eyes and mouth to protect against dust and debris. Remain in this position until the shaking stops. After the shaking is over, wait a moment and check all around and above you before getting up or leaving your shelter. Register at shakeout.org to practice earthquake safety with millions of people worldwide and to see videos showing what to do in a variety of situations.
Ready to do the next one, Jake?
Great shakeout earthquake drills encourage you to practice how to protect yourself during an earthquake. Here are some actions you can take if you are a person with a mobility disability. This video is organized into separate chapters, organized by mobility device. Scroll ahead to the chapters most applicable to your needs. Let's start with what to do if you use a wheelchair. If you are using a cane and feel shaky, with what to do if you use a wheelchair. If you are using a wheelchair and feel shaking, try to move away from windows or objects that could fall or fly and injure you. Stay as low in your chair as possible throughout the shaking. Remain in your wheelchair and lock your wheels or secure a seatbelt if you have one. Do not try to transfer during the shaking. If you can, cover your head and neck with your arms or with a protective object, such as a pillow or a book. If you feel that strong shaking may throw you from your chair, hold on to the chair with one hand. Close your eyes and mouth to protect against dust and debris. When the shaking stops, look around and above you to ensure it's safe before you start to move. Visually check your body for injuries, particularly any areas of reduced sensation or that look or feel different than usual. If you are using a cane and feel shaking, try to move away from windows or objects that could fall or fly and injure you. Use your cane to help lower yourself to the floor and drop onto your hands and knees, or sit down into a nearby seat as quickly as possible. If you can, cover your head and neck with your arms or with a protective object such as a pillow or a book. Close your eyes and mouth to protect against dust and debris. When the shaking stops, look around and above you to ensure it's safe before you start to move. Visually check your body for injuries, particularly any areas of reduced sensation or that look or feel different than usual. Call out for help if you need assistance getting up, reaching your cane, or navigating through any debris. If you are using a walker and feel shaking, try to move away from windows or objects that could fall or fly and injure you. Then, lock the brakes of your walker, if your walker has them, and sit in a nearby chair or the floor, or get low to the ground to make yourself as small a target as possible. If you can, cover your head and neck with your arms or with a protective object such as a pillow or a book. When the shaking stops, look around and above you to ensure it's safe before you start to move. Visually check your body for injuries, particularly any areas of reduced sensation or that look or feel different than usual. If you are using a walker and feel shaking, try to move away from windows or objects that could fall or fly and injure you. Then, lock the brakes of your walker, if your walker has them, and sit in a nearby chair, walker seat, or the floor, or get low to the ground to make yourself as small a target as possible. If you can, cover your head and neck with your arms or with a protective object such as a pillow or a book. When the shaking stops, look around and above you to ensure it's safe before you start to move. Visually check your body for injuries, particularly any areas of reduced sensation or that look or feel different than usual. Call out for help if you need assistance getting up, reaching your walker if it has moved, or navigating through any debris. If you are using a rollator and feel shaking, try to move away from windows or objects that could fall or fly and injure you. If your rollator is equipped with a seat and locks or handbrakes, lock the brakes on your rollator. Try to cover your head and neck with your arms as best as you can, or with a protective object such as a pillow or a book. Even if you can only cover part of your head or neck, that is okay. If no such protective object is available, clasp your hands around the back of your neck with your arms and protect the side and top of your head as best as you can. Bend over to protect your vital organs. Close your eyes and mouth to protect against dust and debris. When the shaking stops, look around and above you to ensure it's safe before you start to move. Visually check your body for injuries, particularly any areas of reduced sensation or that look or feel different than usual. Call out for help if you need assistance getting up, reaching your rollator if it has moved, or navigating through any debris.
Okay, so first thing is if you don't have a sturdy table or you have a glass top table, don't get under it. Not a good plan. But if you have a place where you can see a void, if something falls down, there'd be a void underneath it, say between a chair and a couch, crouching down there. If you're using a walker or a rollator and you can't get on the floor and get back up again, that would be me most mornings, crouch over as much as you can. You're trying to protect your chest and abdominal area and your head as much as possible. Make sure the brakes are on, because with the shaking, these walkers are going to walk by themselves, and you won't be able to reach it. I suggest that each and every one of you have a whistle someplace close by, either on your walker or someplace in a pocket, because if you get trapped in your unit, yelling isn't going to work. Nobody's going to be able to hear you. If you blow a whistle, you're not going to wear yourself out by yelling. So you should have a whistle. We'll talk more about that later. Well, the next one we're going to see is when you're in bed. And I want to point out ahead of time, you'll notice she's closing the curtains. That's great for privacy. It also keeps the windows from blowing out on you. So keep your curtains closed in your bedroom. Also, she has really heavy lamps next to her bed. That worries me. And the other thing is, don't have unsecured large pictures over your bed. If they're just on a wire in one of those flimsy hooks that we all use, putting James on notice here, get those anchored to the wall or remove them from over your bed, because they could fall on you when you're in bed during an earthquake. So that's just a couple of things I'll mention there.
Great shakeout earthquake drills encourage you to practice how to protect yourself during an earthquake. Let's practice what to do if you're in a bed during shaking. Earthquakes can happen anytime, anywhere, but when they occur while you are asleep, they can be especially startling. Never get out of bed during shaking. Some of the most common injuries following an earthquake are tripping on items that have moved or cutting your feet on broken glass or other objects. Before the next earthquake, keep a pair of shoes and a flashlight in a bag tied to your bed, so that the bag does not move during shaking, making it easy for you to access it when the shaking is over. The bag will also prevent broken glass or other objects from getting into your shoes. If you are in a bed and feel shaking, turn onto your stomach. Protect your head and neck with a pillow. Be sure to place your hands on the part of the pillow that covers your head and neck. Close your eyes and mouth to protect against dust and debris. After the shaking is over, wait a moment and check all around and above you before getting up or leaving your bed. Carefully reach for the bag you tied to your bed that contains shoes and a flashlight. Remove the flashlight first and turn it on. Then put on your shoes. If you feel that it's necessary to evacuate quickly from where you are, then do so with caution. Be sure to take your grab-and-go kit. If you do not evacuate, improve safety by caring for those who are injured, identifying and resolving chemical spills, gas leaks, electrical problems, or other hazards, and being prepared for aftershocks. Visit shakeout.org to practice earthquake safety with millions of people worldwide and to see videos showing what to do in a variety of situations.
All right, so a couple reminders during an earthquake. The natural instinct for most people would be to run. Outside is definitely not something you want to do. You want to stay in a building as much as possible. Stay away from windows, as was mentioned earlier, though they could be breaking. Or something could still be falling outside just because the earthquake has stopped. Things are still moving. When you're undercover, when you're under the table or wherever you went to get covered, wait a few minutes before you come out, because again, things are still shaking. I think in the video it showed her looking out to make sure it was okay. She was looking around, looking up, because again, as was mentioned, things could still be falling. So you want to make sure before you come out and you're exposed that it's a safe place to come out to. The other one, we'll go down, hit down, is move around cautiously. Things are going to have moved in your apartments, especially if it's a really strong quake. Furniture is going to, so your normal path in your apartment that you're used to walking is not going to, it might be off a little bit. So again, just make sure you're looking around as you're moving about. Aftershocks. If it's a major earthquake, you will have aftershocks. Sometimes the aftershocks are even stronger than the initial earthquake. So that is going to be happening. So just because it happened once, and it doesn't mean that they've stopped and they could be within 5 minutes, an hour, the next day. When you see on the news the big earthquakes that were, 7 pluses, there's aftershocks, a couple days later, 2-3 days later. So it's just something, again, to be aware of. If you need to evacuate, these are probably the only reasons you should, is that if we smell gas, if there's a fire, sparking wires. For residents of all 3 buildings, so the Coves and the Lakeside building, they're pretty solid, this building especially. So anybody that was here 20 years ago for the Nisqually, this building didn't really get any damage. Things fell, things broke, but the building itself was structurally sound. So we would probably advise against evacuation if we decided that we needed to. The maintenance team and the emergency response team here at the Hearthstone would assist with getting you out. Communication to your family and friends to let them know you're all right. Don't call. If you have a cell phone, use your text. The cell towers, a few that will be up, again, if it's a major earthquake, a lot of the cell towers will be down or be damaged. It's easier to receive the text through the system. And 911 will not respond. It will be delays, definitely, so we only want to do it if it's an actual life-threatening emergency. A lot of the fire stations are older. They may not even be able to get out of the fire station. The one that's over here near us is an older building. I'm not sure how retrofitted it is. But again, they may be trying to take care of themselves before they can get out to help anybody else. one of their recommendations on the site was to know how to use a fire extinguisher. The team here is pretty much trained to use a fire extinguisher. We're actually going to be doing some more drills just to keep everybody in practice. It's one thing to pretend to use a fire extinguisher, but if you haven't really used one, it's a little different than the practice. So, and then again, if you have a first aid kit, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, if you can take care of yourself, you can go ahead and do so. But one of the things we're going to be doing for all three, the Coves and the Lakeside building, is I'm creating a door hanger that every resident will have in their apartment in the event of a major earthquake. It'll be two-sided. One side you'll hang on your door, let us know you're okay, and we can keep checking on other residents. The other side you'll turn and it'll be red, which lets us know that you need assistance. So we'll check on you. If we see a door missing a hanger, we will go into that apartment also and check. So that's one of the things that we're going to start doing that we haven't done in the past. It just helps us be able to check on you and make sure you're okay. And then if there is somebody that needs assistance, then we can get to them a little quicker. The SARA system will be working. It's part of the emergency generator support. But again, we'll be moving everywhere because maintenance will be checking on the building itself, you know, the boiler, the water tanks, all those good things, and make sure everything, the building itself is safe. In the meantime, we'll have a few people at this during the day or evenings going around checking. If it happens late at night, it'll be a little bit slower response because we only have one maintenance person on the overnight. But we also have a plan to get people in to help go through and check on everybody in the community. So just for those that are here, the generator, which we have at all three buildings, the two Coves and the Lakeside building, support key systems. Over to the Cove buildings, it supports the sump pumps, the door system, and over here we have elevator number 3 that is on the generator, the SARA system, a few key areas, the health center of course. From the 5th floor up, which is independent living, the generator does not support anything up there. So you will have no power in the apartments, no light. So that's why when Linda will be going over the emergency kits and recommendations for you to be able to get through the earthquake in a few days past. And then also there's some good contact information up here that she'll share with you.
Okay, for those of you with smartphones, the Smart 911 program is really a great thing to have on your phone. Just go to Smart 911 on Google and then, it'll get you there. What it does is you fill out a form. It has your name, your address, phone number, emergency contacts, health issues, allergies, all the stuff that a dispatcher would ask you. And that screen, when your phone calls 911, that screen pops up automatically. So they'll have all that information right there. And it saves the dispatcher from having to ask you all of that. Alert Seattle and Alert King County, again, are really important apps for you to have on your smartphone. They tell you when major things are happening in the area, not just earthquakes, but if there's a chemical spill, a disaster at the airport, that sort of thing. Amber alerts, which happen almost at 6:30 in the morning, and they're really loud. But I think those are really important for all of us to have. And for more earthquake information, and if some of you got the FEMA that's a little faint on the back, I got that off of FEMA.gov earthquake. And there's a lot of great information at FEMA about preparing for earthquakes. The one thing I want to really emphasize is that we're on our own for at least 7 days. The police and fire department, I mean, a lot of things from FEMA say 3 days. But when I did my training, it was 7 days. That's what they were telling us. So you really want to be resilient. Now, I'm going to talk about a few things here, and then I'm going to go to the back and hold some things up. Now, when you are getting your food together, to have food for 7 days and water for 7 days, because there may be water line breaks. And you can't have food, like I have a pouch that I usually hold up, but I have a pouch of freeze-dried food from REI. What a great idea, except you don't have any boiling water. So don't plan on using freeze-dried food. And there's no such thing as freeze-dried water, so you have to have real water. You need to have a gallon per person per day. And that's for drinking and washing and that sort of thing. So you can buy bottled water, a nice chunk of it at Costco. And then what you do is it lasts for 5 years. And at the end of 5 years, or when you move into the Hearthstone from your old house, you use it to water the plants and then get a new pallet. So you can also store your own water, but the container has to be a number 1 plastic container. It has to have the number 1 on it. Don't use glass because it'll break in an earthquake. So number 1 plastic containers. And then you dump it out after a year, 1 year, and then refill it. And you keep those in your pantry or someplace in your apartment. I also keep extra water in my car. I keep extra food and extra water in my car, along with a blanket and a first aid kit. That's good for in the middle of winter too. So those are things you want to think about. In your apartments, if you're like my husband and I, we've got all these precious tchotchkes that we've collected over the years, and most of them are breakable. For your cupboards, think about putting child blocks on your upper cupboards, and if you have a china hutch. Because in a bad earthquake, those cupboard doors are going to fly open, and as you saw on that one video, all that crockery is on the floor. That's why you have to have shoes next to your bed, sturdy shoes and a flashlight, because things are going to break. Lamps are going to fall off, things are going to fall. Always look up. When you get up from your safe place, and I stay down for a good 2-3 minutes, which seems like forever. But something like this, luckily nobody's sitting right here, because that connector for the in focus is going to fall off during an earthquake. The in focus may come off, so always wait and always look up, because that's where things are going to fall and hit you in the head. Okay? The other thing I want to mention before I go to the back is prescription medication. Make sure you have 7 days worth of your prescription medication in your kit. You can go to your pharmacist. I think this past, when the pandemic started, it got really easy. You go to your pharmacist and say you need an emergency supply of your medication. And then at the end of a year, rotate it out, put some medication back in those bottles and take the old ones, because they haven't expired yet, so take those and put newer ones in there. So I go through my kit once a year to make sure nothing has expired, and that's something to do. Okay, I'm going to move to the back, and I'm going to hold things up. I'll try to be in the middle. If you kind of turn, or if you want to come back there, that's fine. Just I didn't have any place to put everything up here, so I'm going to go back here. You have a FEMA list of what you should have in an earthquake kit. Now, in your car, have bottled water, have a first aid kit. And I highly suggest another website is Red Cross First Aid. It's in the App Store, And it's a first aid manual that's really easy to follow right on your phone. And then I have 2 warm blankets, one for my husband, I won't let him freeze, and one for me. Now, when I was talking about freeze-dried food, no. Canned tuna, canned chicken, if you don't mind eating cold canned soup, but canned foods are better. Because you're not going to have any boiled water, you don't have any heat to boil it, so these won't work. And for your canned food, don't use an electric can opener. You need a manual can opener. A lot of people don't remember that. Now, one thing that all of us have smartphones. We're not going to have electricity for a while. I have 3 external things that will charge my phone. My phone cord will fit into this, and I take them out every 2 months and charge them. I have one for my technical bag, one for my at-home bag, and I have one in the car. And I just charge them every couple months. And that way, if your phone is running out of charge, you can recharge it. Another thing that I found online that I love is this is a solar-powered lantern that also will charge a phone. And so if you want to come take a picture of it, it's called a pack light. And this will give you light and charge your phone. It's slow, but it will charge your phone. And so this is a good thing to have because unlike one of the senators who is against solar power because we're going to use up all the energy in the sun. These people are running the country? Oh my word. We won't run out of power from the sun, so there you go. Science is a thing. All right, the other thing, I want you to have lots of batteries. Lots of batteries. And get the ones that are good for 10 years and just mark on the back what year you bought it. Duct tape. You never know. Duct tape, you can fix anything. The other thing you want are good, bright flashlights. I've got 2 packs of these. They come in 3 packs. So I got 6 of them around in my car, in the apartment, and in my kids. And they have 2 levels of brightness, and these take AAA batteries. A good first aid kit. And there's a list there for what to put in your first aid kit. So you can come in, these red packs I got at REI. My technical one, which has got a few more things in it. I mean, you're not going to be using hemostats or anything like that, but I got this pack online too. Backpacks. You can order backpacks that are emergency backpacks online that has most of this in it, and they're pretty good. I built my own, but that's easier for a lot of people. And in fact, during KUOW Beg Week a couple years ago, that was their giveaway, was emergency backpack. Beg Week starts this week, so you might want to look and see what they're giving away. What else? Oh, decent shoes. You want to have a notebook with important phone numbers, your driver's license number, maybe a credit card number, because if your phone does run out of charge, I don't know about you, but I don't remember any phone numbers anymore. My phone's smarter than I am. So keep important information in your kit. Now, you can use something like this. This is my home one. This goes under my bed. I have 2 of them, one with food and one with everything else. Those of you who have pets, make sure you have a pet carrier, a leash, and a collar, and extra food. And make it kibble, the dry kibble, because that'll last a lot longer than canned food for your pet. And it's important if you evacuate that you have a carrier for your pet. Don't just take them out on a leash. They may cut their paws and things, so keep them in a carrier. You don't need that because we're here. I think that's it. Of course, they all say, you know, make sure you wear a mask. Make sure you wear a mask. I think this went out of battery. I don't think we need to worry about that anymore. We all have masks. But if you want extra masks, these are like the N45s that are a little bit better for dust and debris. So if you want to have your mask, that's what I'd have in an earthquake kit. The other thing I like to have is a crowbar. If there's stuff that you can't move, you need some extra leverage, or if a door is jammed and you can't get out, this is a good tool to have. Thank you.
Is it making noise?
No. I'll yell. I'm a teacher. I can fill the room. So, you know, a crowbar might be a good thing. The other thing I have, in case you have to evacuate, are some rain ponchos to keep you dry. I also always have garbage bags to sit on, or to make a poncho, out of. Garbage bags, they're cheap. I mean, in any emergency, the stores always run out of toilet paper. So I keep a little extra here. You know, toothbrushes, sunscreen in case you're outside. And this isn't for this group particularly, but I'll do this for Ariana. Save your dryer lint if you're going to build a fire. It's the best fire starter there is. So I have matches, I have birthday candles. It's not for a party, it's for lighting a fire with the dryer lint. So if you need dryer lint, come and see me. I usually do laundry on Fridays.
Gotcha.
All right. So,
I have a question.
yeah.
What's the little green thing that you charge with?
Oh, it's just an external charger. You can get them online. They're not real expensive. Look on Amazon. But they're an external power source for your phone.
They're sometimes called power packs.
Power packs. Yeah.
Is it battery? Is that how it?
No, you charge it. I hook it up to the computer and it charges through the computer. And then you put your phone cord on it and it'll charge your phone. It's just a power pack. It's a rechargeable battery, basically. Yeah, and there's all sorts of different ones. There's flat ones, and I get cheap ones. I don't need expensive ones. I think that's about it. I always have wet ones, and even before the pandemic, I always carried Purell. Gloves. I have heavy gloves in case I have to move glass or something. But if you're doing first aid, you want to have gloves, and you can buy them at Bartell's. They're not that expensive. The nitrate-free, gloves.
I have another question.
Yeah,
Does the plumbing work?
it may or may not. If the water mains break, we may not have water.
Because somebody said get a bucket, white bucket, and then you can put one of those black bags in it.
Repeat the
Oh.
question.
Get it. If there's water, you can put a black bag in.
You take your bucket that you put your things in
Uh-huh.
and take them out and put the black bag in.
In for a toilet. Yeah. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. If you want to keep some of your things in a bucket, you have a black bag. You take everything out of the bucket and use the black bag as a liner, and you use that as a toilet. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea. The other thing that they sell online, and this is what I have to line something like that, it's a biohazard bag. Being a retired nurse, I like everything marked if it's biohazard. I'm a little bit that way.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the suggestion for 2 people in a 1-bedroom apartment to store 14 gallons of water?
That's the hard part.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I don't really know how to answer that because
How
we're in
much
a
water do
two-bedroom.
2 people have to have?
It's 1 gallon. It's 1 gallon per person per day. So if it's 2 people, that's 14 gallons of water,
2 weeks.
which is a lot of water. Get as much as you can stored. The other thing is if our buildings are really sturdy, like they are. You might be able to keep some of it down in your storage locker or in the trunk of your car. Yeah. Now, if the whole building collapses, it doesn't matter if we have water anyway. So, there's always that. Me and my gallows humor. The other thing you want to make sure you have handy close by, if it's middle of winter, because the heat will go off too, make sure you've got warm clothes, a warm coat. If you have to go out, something waterproof like a poncho, or I keep an extra raincoat and extra hats in my backpack. Yeah.
What about those emergency silver blankets? that you
Oh,
see?
space
Are
blankets?
Do those really work?
Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the space blankets are also very good, and they're small. I have them someplace in one of my kits. It's in here someplace, but I have space blankets, and they're Mylar. They're that silver material, and they do work. Emergency responders use them all the time. The other thing, if you have somebody that has difficulty communicating around you, know your neighbors. Know what your neighbors' needs are on your floor. But you can get this online. It's a first responders communication board that somebody can just point to. And it's two-sided, and it's easy to use. But if you have somebody that you know isn't able to communicate very well, or if somebody's hurt and they can point to something but they can't really talk, I also suggest everybody that can take a first aid course. The Red Cross offers them all the time, or learn it online. Everything's online anyway, so try to take a first aid course if you can. Yeah.
Clarification about the water. So any bottled water I buy will last for 5 years?
No, you have to look and make sure that it's one that will.
Oh.
And the stuff at Costco they sell for emergency water lasts for 5 years.
Oh, so is it specifically emergency water?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
What
Thank you for
was her
clarifying.
question?
Oh, her question was, does any water bottle last for 5 years? No. Make sure you buy water that is made for emergency storage, and it'll have a 1 at the bottom of the plastic bottle.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It brought to mind something else. Oh, if we do have water and they have a boil order in place, you can also use regular unscented household bleach to clarify your water and disinfect it. If you go online, I'm not going to do it now because you won't remember, if you go online and ask about using bleach to disinfect water, it'll tell you the amount of bleach to the amount of water, and it has to sit for half an hour for it to work. But that's another option. If we still have running water, but there's been breaks in some of the mains, they may have a boil water order, which is fine if we have power. But if we don't, you can use, it has to be the unscented, just plain, cheap, generic bleach. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is there any provision, and this may be a question for you, Jane, in Hearthstone, either Lakeside or the Coves, where storage water for the population is? Or are we totally responsible for 14 days by ourselves?
The question was, are we totally responsible for our water supply, or does the Hearthstone have a supply of water?
The answer is for independent living, basically you are on your own. We do have some water in one of the tanks. We are looking at right now trying to see if we can find a location to have another storage tank in the community. But space-wise, we just don't have it right now. So we're still exploring that option. But it would only be the supplement. So again, the 7-day recommendation that Linda has, I would try to stick with us.
Yeah, Ariana?
I was just thinking about storage because, helping people move in, I understand storage is really hard. I'm just wondering, for anyone who can put things under beds,
Yeah, under
maybe
beds.
you could store some water under a bed. It's just a thought.
Yeah. Under beds are a great place to store things, and using Rubbermaid flat things. Even if you just have 5 days worth of water, Just try to get as much as you can stored in your unit. Also, have food. Also, have cash. Keep cash. Now, we've all gotten quite used to cashless now because of the pandemic. However, if the power's out in the area, the credit card machines don't work. They need electricity. So have cash. Also, keep your car at least half full at all times. Gas pumps need electricity. Yes?
How much cash do you specify?
I keep $200.
Small bills.
Oh, can we store water on decks?
Can we store water on the decks? Is that okay, James? Yeah, store water on the
So
decks.
the sunlight doesn't hurt it.
Should. Or you can put a cover over it.
Yeah.
Good question.
Was that a yes or a no?
That was a yes.
Yes.
That was a yes.
What about storage lockers?
That's why I said, if you've got room in your storage locker, like my husband and I won't be drinking water, we'll be drinking wine because that's what's in our storage locker. The man keeps buying wine, and I keep saying, we need to have room for water. No, we'll just drink wine. We'll be happy during the earthquake.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, you have a question?
This is for James. What is the Hearthstone going to do for us? Does the third elevator go up to the 10th floor?
Yeah, the elevator number 3 is tied into the generator, so it will be functional.
All the way up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yes?
Jane, since we don't have that many people in here, and I'm looking around and don't see a lot of people from my floor, how are they going to have access to this information?
Repeat the question.
It's how are we going to have access to the information? Well, it's being recorded, so it'll
Yeah.
go on YouTube, so anyone can watch it anytime. I'll also put it on channel 370 at certain scheduled times.
So are you going to have that in Flash this week?
I'll
Would be
have,
a good idea.
yeah, that's a great idea. I can definitely suggest it.
Yeah. So it'll be on YouTube. Encourage your neighbors to be aware of that they're available, and also to go on FEMA.gov and look at all the information they've got, because it's really good information there. And the handout that talks to you about what goes in your emergency kit is right from FEMA. And the website for this particular thing is www.ready.gov. It's right here, so you can access their earthquake information. Yes?
I know you've said that in general, you're recommending that we all shelter in place.
Yes.
There are probably circumstances where the building has been compromised to the point where we need to evacuate. Is there a plan for doing that?
Yes. So the maintenance team will go through the building and assess it. Again, the Lakeside building is a very solid building. It's gone through a few shakes over the years. But if we assess it, then we will notify residents. The chapel, this built room right here, is actually, the lights are on the generator. So this is an area of refuge. So if somebody was on a floor, their apartment was badly damaged, say the windows broke out or something, we would bring people down here. Now, my understanding is 20 years ago, when we had the Nisqually, that this community actually had people coming from other communities to stay because the Lakeside building was so secure and stable. And other communities were not as fortunate and needed to evacuate their buildings. So it's kind of to that point.
Any other questions? Okay, well, the best thing is to remember we live in earthquake country and we can't prepare. It's not like living in Tornado Alley or down in New Orleans where they have warning ahead of time. We don't. It just happens. So we need to be sure that we're just prepared. And don't think about it a lot, just be prepared.
We don't get any warnings of earthquake?
No, there's no warning, it just happens.
Well, I thought sometimes there was.
Nope, there's no warning for earthquakes. In fact, there's been 181 earthquakes in the last week.
Oh, little ones, yeah.
Little ones. So we often are having them, we don't even know. We may think it's a garbage trucks, which I think is a 5.6 earthquake. No, there is no warning. There is no warning for, that. We have warnings sometimes for volcanic eruptions because there'll be cluster earthquakes around the volcano. But for one of these faults, we've got 5 faults right here in Greenland. If one of those faults slips, there's no warning. It just
Tidal
goes.
waves, if you're worried about the tidal waves.
Yeah.
Have warning.
Yeah, tsunamis, you'll have a warning.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, a tsunami, you'll have a warning because the earthquake happens and then the water happens. If you're ever on a beach in an earthquake place, like on the Pacific coast or in Hawaii, and you see the water go way out, run the other direction and get up high as fast as you can. But usually there's sirens. On the Pacific coast, we have tsunami warning sirens now.
I see it says
Chance
fire.
of a tsunami in this area, what's the location, is slim to none.
Yeah, yeah.
We're 300 feet above sea level.
Yeah, here we're fine, but down on the waterfront, there is a chance, slim though it is, of a big earthquake that Puget Sound, the Salish Sea, can create a tsunami. Yes,
I noticed fire extinguisher on the list, but we don't have to have our individual fire
I do.
extinguishers, do we? Well, you may, but,
I think everybody should in their kitchen.
well, aren't there fire extinguishers on each floor?
There are.
Yeah, there are. I have a small one under my kitchen sink.
Laundry room, too.
Laundry room there is? Okay, fire extinguishers in the laundry rooms? So I haven't been upstairs here, so I don't know what's here. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
We're all terrified.
Prepared.
You're not terrified, you're prepared. And that's just it. When I took my training through the North Shore Fire Department, I started thinking, oh. And then I realized, I've been living with this all this time, I'm prepared. At least now I'm living with this and I'm prepared. So now you're better prepared. Forewarned is forearmed. So don't be scared.
Thank you, James.
Oh, emergency radios. There are hand crank emergency radios you can get online that are really good. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, James and Linda, really.